Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there.
So, guys, we're starting to work on sorting things out a little bit more on the channels. On EEARTS, you might notice if you scroll down a little bit, the first thing you're going to see is all the newest videos. And then as you go down farther, there's a Terraria, Atlantis, Mu, and Lemuria playlist. And then there's a playlist for Anunnaki and Ijiji. And then we get into Vedic astrology, healing through energy work, Qigong, meditation, Reiki, mantras for activating higher consciousness and healing. Then we have our natural health, wellness, and fitness playlist, binge-worthy, and transformation, ascensions, and esoterica. Those two are going to get changed and broken down a little bit more. We're able to put 12 different subcategories up. So we're going to break it down so you guys that want to go binge watching can go binge watching, find things easier, as again, it can be hard to find things when there's 1,000 or 2,000 videos to sort through. And I know sometimes when you search within there, it's not so easy to really find what you're looking for.
And there's so much stuff to sort through. It's like, where do you start? What do you do? And this way you can pick a category and just deep dive and have a good time and you really get that quench of information thirst that happens during an awakening.
Yep. So, the way it's kind of organizing out CEEARTS being more of a deep dive into all the mysteries, Evolutionary is going to be where we track more of the news that's happening. And then we are going to be adding another one that's going to be specifically for mantras, music, and meditation, where if you don't want anything that's scary at all, not even potentially scary, like, some might view Tartaria as scary or Atlantis as scary, and certainly Anunnaki and Ijiji. Yet, maybe you just want to keep it light, then we'll also have the other one there. So we see what's going on in the world with these Earth changes plus. Earth changes plus.
Yes, and we can see that Mother is speaking. Mother and father and mother, they're talking to each other and things are happening.
Well, Chile's Lascar volcano erupts first time in 30 years. The eruption caused minor tremors, spewed out gas and ash 6,000 meters into the air. So, again, we're seeing a lot of volcanic activity underway. We have intense explosions, dense volcanic ash emissions at Fuego in Guatemala as well. In Guatemala, again, the rule of how quickly something can affect the entirety of the Earth is a big eruption close to the equator cools off the Earth a little bit quicker. And so especially when you start seeing stuff that's 50, 60,000 feet and higher, and of course that Tonga blast was massive, massive, massive. Now, Fuego is an active volcano, so it's not that is out of the norm. It's just that we have a lot going on. And this is a big one. This is the White Island volcano in New Zealand, where unfortunately some people had lost their lives a few years back as they got too close, and then there was an eruption. And here we see observation flight confirms continued emissions of minor to moderate steam and gas plume over at the White Island in New Zealand. And, again, they're watching it. We'll watch this. So much of humanity is unknowingly in areas that in the past have had massive tragedies and massive natural-ish, disasters. And we got to say it that way because we understand there's technology out there that is beyond our understanding. But you know what? The technology is going to be coming out now in droves. And we have Russia plunging to negative 61 Celsius. That's almost 78 below Fahrenheit. Wow. Record cold and snow. Chaos hits the UK. Energy prices, unprecedented highs. The Sierras slam with snow. And then actually there is a major storm coming across so much of the U.S. Australia bursts 20 plus low monthly low temperature records. So, I mean, we're seeing the records just fly off the books. Again, it was interesting, too. I didn't include it in this, but there was a little article that popped up in the mainstream news that was talking about 25% of the people looking to move, and we've had record numbers of people moving. 25%, one out of every 4 persons that's thinking of moving, is actually thinking of a different state, looking to get into a different state, where to go. Somebody had said, hey, if they have all this planned chaos for the U.S., where do we go? That's a great question. I think you have to listen to your gut, listen to, your particular guidance that's coming from above. Everybody has their own different astrological ley lines, so to speak. And boy, that's another topic. Got to tell you guys, you're going to see a lot of videos coming out on EEARTS that are going to be a little bit more targeted and a little bit more specific, but we hope that you guys will string them together on your own, and we'll still do videos where we're stringing a whole bunch of different thought lines together, because sometimes we don't automatically put things together in our minds. We don't think, well, if we put this with this with this with this, oh, there's a pattern here. Well, this caused this and that caused that. We don't necessarily see the bigger picture. We might look at things as isolated incidents when really they're all part of a much bigger picture. But I was getting off on a tangent there. There's been so much going through my mind lately. We've been doing a lot more deep insight and meditation. We've been totally unplugging. We spent some money and stocking up on books, and I'm not talking like little books, 700,000 page books. Some of them are hundreds of years old. Just because, we want to be unplugged as much as possible. There's a clarity you can get when you unplug. And again, we are subject to all these different frequencies that are really disruptive to our mental process.
We don't automatically look at our energy body, and we can't see the chaos that goes on in it. But I can tell you, when you sit in front of a router, when you're in front of a computer all day, when you're working with other people, that definitely affects our energy body. And when our energy body is in chaos, our life can go and become in chaos. So we really have to watch these things, take good care of ourselves, continually be balancing yourself, cleansing your energy body. And things just seem to go a lot smoother, but people were not taught that from a young age. People don't even know to do that, but I can tell you, once you start, it really helps.
Yeah, so there is no one perfect place for anybody. And that's one of the things to realize, again, as we were talking about our individual astrological ley lines. Where do I think? Well, honestly, when I think about all the visions I've had over the years, I do feel that people are going to be gravitating more towards the tropics as time goes on. But again, there will be a point in time when you want to be definitely away from major bodies of water. But that's not what's primary right now, though our guides have said for us personally to avoid coastlines. They've told us don't go any farther closer to the coastlines. Now, that could be something that's personal for us. I do feel also that, the biggest thing we're going to be facing is more of the plagues upon the land and conflict, as well as civil unrest. So I would say avoid major population centers first and foremost. The more you're out in the country, the better. And that's just my mindset. And we're living on the edge of a tiny town, and we needed rest. We needed to root and ground as we were just roaming in a 19-foot camper. So, this place opened up itself as an opportunity for a rest period for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but at the same time, we're always looking and noticing what's happening all around. And everybody really should be, because we are really heading into tumultuous times at this point in time. And at this point in time, too, we can't see that we could avoid it, because there's so many things that are underway right now. Now, getting back to what we're seeing, historic cold in northern China, too. Last month, the coldest temperatures since the 1980s disrupted seasonal migration of nomadic herders in northwest China's Xinjiang region. Inclement conditions trapped many herders and froze thousands of livestock to death as blizzards and temperatures as low as record-smashing 48.6 Celsius below descended from the north, and we had all these freezing animals. And this is the area of the Kazakhs. And here we have a massive storm that's going to impact the central and southern U.S. And really, this was also billed as possible coast-to-coast snow. I know we have been way above normal, much above normal. It's felt a lot like still we were in summer, so to speak, but I do see that it's going to get significantly colder, and also the potential for flooding. Now, we've talked about the Mississippi drying up in so many spots, and it is record low, and we still have the drought going on, which is very, very apparently conflictory with what Edgar Cayce saw. Yet again, things can change, in the blink of an eye.
Sometimes when you see something that's drying up, suddenly the opposite can happen. And, I realized I went on my own tangent about our energy body and getting ourselves organized. When you organize your energy body, and we're looking for messages from the universe, like which way do I go? That's the most important thing. It's to organize your information. So that information that's supposed to flow from higher self can flow from higher self directly to you. And then you feel like this magnetic pull to certain areas, and then you follow that.
So as you can see that there's going to be a lot of storms rolling through the country, where you have this green area, rain and thunderstorms. Heading to the north, we have some mixed precipitation, freezing rain. That's really always very, very dangerous. Heavy snow more towards eastern Montana and Wyoming, and again all through Nebraska and the Dakotas. It's going to be just a nightmare. When we look down to eastern Texas, Oklahoma, we see Louisiana. Where is it? It's just underneath. Heavy rain, flash flooding possible, severe thunderstorms. Hang on tight, and all this will move eastward. So again, we need to be as prepared as possible, because in these times, too, everything is just so tenuous. I think, a lot of us out there, we're always like, when we check the news, you're wondering, what am I going to see next? What am I going to see next? Who knows what we're going to see next nowadays? Portugal, more flooding hits Lisbon after 2.5 inches of rain in 3 hours. As you see, Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. Well, if you want to talk about one of those places where a lot of people are expatriating to from the U.S., Portugal is one of them. And it's a small country on the Atlantic. It's right there on the Iberian Peninsula next to Spain. And, again, all around the globe, we're seeing unusual weather patterns. Absolutely. And we understand there are harps that angels don't play, and a lot of technology. We have declassified geoengineering patents that go all the way back to like 1890s. And we have had very advanced cultures, civilizations on this planet that have just seemingly disappeared in the blink of an eye. As it seems that everybody now is awakening to the whole concept of Tartaria and mud floods, and massive revisionist history. And exactly how long do we go before this is happening? What we've gotten from the guides is, there might be major event periods that might be spaced hundreds of years apart. But then again, what do you call them major? Because, we see record flooding events, record drought events, record storms everywhere, like every day. now. If you compare it to what life was like 10 years ago, and think about the dinosaurs, what we were told, everything that we get told kind of gets revised or gets tweaked. I'm not sure how much the average person really notices these things. Dinosaurs were on the up before the asteroid downfall, so says a study. Scientists have long debated why non-bird dinosaurs, including T-Rex and Triceratops, became extinct, where mammals and other species like turtles and crocodiles survived basically unchanged, so they say. Well, a new study, basically they modeled food chains, ecological habitats of land living and freshwater animals during the last several million years of the Cretaceous. And again, the timelines. Some things are way longer than what they tell us. Some things are way shorter than what they tell us. I think the only thing we can do is not trust anything they say. And the first few million years of the Paleogene period after the asteroid hit. And they've known for some time that many small mammals lived alongside the dinosaurs, but this research reveals that these mammals were adapting to their environments, becoming more important components of ecosystems as the Cretaceous unfolded. Meanwhile, the dinosaurs were entrenched in stable niches. And they say that these stable niches is what did them in, that they didn't have the ability to adapt, basically, and that mammals were more adaptive. Or maybe there were beings that had different plans for the planet.
It's like, I don't know, there's just so many things to consider, but what do we do when we're considering what's the truth? Well, we look back and see who's been telling us all the lies, and then you look at their information and that's not necessarily truth.
Oh, okay. So this is from Space Weather. So this is official. This is NASA, NOAA, etc., etc. You thought you knew solar cycles, huh? Think again. We have a new paper published in Frontiers in Astronomy and Space Sciences confirms that there's more to solar activity than the well-known 11-year sunspot cycle. Data from Stanford University's Wilcox Solar Observatory, WSO, reveal 2 solar cycles happening at the same time. Neither is 11 years long. We call it the extended solar cycle, says lead author Scott McIntosh of NCAR. There are 2 overlapping patterns of activity on the sun. Each lasts about 17 years. Solar physicists have long suspected this might be true. References to overlapping solar cycles can be found in research literature as far back as 1903. A figure from the new Frontiers paper seems to clinch the case. The top panel shows sunspot counts since 1976. The curve goes up and down every 11 years, which explains why everyone thinks solar cycle is 11 years long. The bottom panel shows what's really going on. The red and blue colors represent magnetic fields on the surface of the sun, explains Phil Scherer of Stanford University, a co-author of the paper who works closely with data from Wilcox Solar Observatory. We have been monitoring these fields since 1976, gathering a unique long-term record of the sun's magnetism. Wilcox data shows not one but 2 coexisting patterns of activity. They overlap in a way that any music major will recognize. The sun is singing rounds.
The sun is singing rounds. What do we think about that?
Well, a round is a musical piece in which multiple voices sing the same melody but start at different times.
Oh, those are fun. I like rounds.
Yeah, because Cindy wants us to do mantras that way. That's and we might we'll try to dig things up like that.
Then we would just be copying the sun.
We could be mimicking the sun. Yes. Half the kids start singing "Row, row, row your boat." The other ones start after 5 syllables.
And I think that's just the most adorable thing. It's the sweetest thing when we can watch little children express themselves in a way. And that brings me to this. We always wonder what the guides are thinking when they're watching us. Well, you can think and understand they're watching us as little children, so they watch us do things in adoration always.
Yes, I could vouch for that. Absolutely. That's what we have discovered. So, yeah, it's kind of like that. But then again, it's the, gosh, to me, it makes me think of the yin and the yang. It's the masculine and feminine. It's the ebb and the flow. So 11 years or 17 years, one cycle versus two. What difference does it make? The extended solar cycle might be telling us something crucial about what's happening deep inside the sun, where sunspot magnetic fields are generated. It poses significant challenges to the prevalent dynamo theories of the solar cycle. So interesting, is it not? Again, science always being constantly rewritten. Constantly. So is it worth it to get a degree in whatever? Well, what do you think?
Well, you're going to owe the money whether they rewrite the science or not.
Yeah. And this from Strange Sounds. Our solar system, the entire solar system, is changing rapidly. But nobody's really talking about it. All the major bodies of our solar system are changing rapidly. Now, we are in the upswing of solar cycle 25. Could it be related? We are seeing rapid observable changes to almost every single planet. Pluto's atmosphere has recently collapsed. There's a link there. Neptune's storms have suddenly begun rotating backwards. The planet is mysteriously cooling down. Uranus's polar regions are visibly flaring. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh. Well, I'm glad I said it the way I said it. Jupiter has recently experienced a 700-degree temperature impulse originating from its northern pole, and the great red spot is fading. Mars is suddenly displaying seismic activity. Venus's planetary winds have increased their velocity by 33% in the last 20 years. And it goes on from there. We've recently observed large-scale changes to the ice cover on Jupiter's moon Europa, large-scale changes in the polar ice cap on Mars, Saturn losing its rings, a mysterious darkening of the atmosphere of Venus, unusual changes in the temperature and pressure of the atmosphere of Neptune, and a brightening in the atmosphere of Jupiter. And then you see, prepare now. Yes. Well, I mean, we should always be preparing. We understand that we are heading into the thick of a storm, the likes of which, well, we haven't seen in our lifetime anyway. Who knows? I mean, I don't remember my mother, who lived to be 90, my aunts, who lived to be 95 and 96, who had died, 30 years ago. So that's covering a long period of time, over a century. I don't remember them talking about anything major like this, even though my mom did, see World War II. My aunts saw World War I and World War II. And still, nothing like the changes that we're seeing as far as the weather goes were ever mentioned. Not to say that it didn't happen, because, boy, honestly, I think a lot of people are getting suspicious about everything at this point in time. Now, scientists spot ghostly light glowing throughout the solar system. Scientists use NASA's Hubble Space Telescope to identify the presence of an unexplained glow amid the blackness of space. As you see, a representation here going all the way out to the Kuiper Belt. The deep darkness of space might not actually be so dark in our solar system. No, it's so different than what we're told.
It's way different. Everything is different. When Mike was going over those planets, I'm looking at everything and thinking, yeah, they don't even really know what's going on our planet. At least they're not admitting it, let alone other planets. But the one thing that did strike me, because I've gotten channeled information on this before, was the rings of Saturn. And that has something to do with Saturn's binding and the lessons Saturn gives. So Saturn is not necessarily always voluntarily giving out information. So the rings fading is a very, very important thing, and it speaks to our moving up in evolution.
Mm-hmm. And, again, why? What's up with this glow and stuff? Well, there is a lot of dust, and actually we could look to the Pleiades. And when you look at the Pleiades, you'll see that those stars appear to glow with a bluish haze, like a whitish bluish haze around them. The Pleiades are relatively young stars, and so as the dust is coalescing and adding to the bodies that are in a solar system, this is part of the process. So you see more dust when things are first being birthed, and then you see it again after they blow up eventually. They spread dust again. But this is something a little bit different, and this is bigger than just even our solar system. It has to do with, again, the bigger cycles that we are talking about. And so, they're talking about these ghost lights, which researchers describe as the equivalent to the glow of 10 fireflies spread across the entire night sky. So they think it's a local phenomenon that's not far outside the solar system, they said in a statement on Thursday. It may be a new element to the contents of the solar system that's been hypothesized, but not quantitatively measured until now. So a leading explanation is the glow comes from a previously unaccounted for sphere of dust left behind by countless comets traveling through the solar system from all directions. This is where they are leading you. Now, yes, we have gotten from the guides there are going to be things that come, and there are going to be major impacts to the Earth from bodies that are not of the Earth, and 3 in particular to be aware of at some point in time. And this is a reason, again, not to be too close to the coastlines when they do impact, because at some point in time that will happen and again cause a tsunami and flooding. But we don't know exactly when that is. That might be 5 years, that might be 10 years. It feels like it's within this cycle, and for us, we still feel that there will be the major activity. That we look at the solar flash as being a key major event that does occur, and again, we're still getting the same time frame of probably sometime in the middle of the 2040s is when the bigger solar flash will occur. There's going to be a build up to that. There's more energy coming in right now. And there probably will be solar activity that takes down portions of the grid at different times as we go through this period. It's all about really the photon belt. And this is something that was thought to be so new age and woo-woo and just, basically poo-pooed, for lack of a better term. Back in the 80s when I first heard about this, it just kind of rang a bell. And it was curious, and again, there was hardly anybody taking it seriously proportionately to the people that take it seriously now. So this photon belt is an area of highly charged particles that literally are changing our consciousness rapidly. Think about it as an area in which the soul can develop and grow at an exponential rate because of all the light. Again, everything, astrology is it's the study of the interaction of light with us and the heavenly bodies. And this is an area that is just full of positive energy. As you're looking at depictions again, and this one's in Spanish, again, looking at the Pleiades and also taking us in as part of that bigger picture. And it's all about where we are in this cycle. And when we go through this, we go through a period of amazing growth, amazing evolution, amazing changes. This literally undoes a lot of what the darkness that we've been under has done. And this is why the powers that be are doing everything they can to slow down this process, because we are all gaining in our ability to perceive. They will no longer be able to pull the wool over humanity's eyes unless humanity chooses to become like them. And that's what they're giving you. They're giving you the choice to become part of the Borg or resist. It's not futile. And stay organic, because this is a blessing, and this is our ticket to true freedom. Again, it has to do with the cycle of the yugas. It has to do with where we are, and it has to do with the energy that surrounds us. And Benisa Duono, or Peter Dunov, is one of our guides ever since we talked about him in probably about half a dozen different videos. He has come through at different times. Sometimes when Cindy's full asleep, he's totally come through and jumped in her body, and she's channeled him. And he saw this. He saw a wave of energy that is going to wipe the darkness totally away. And so, calling it the white fire, this galactic superwave. He used the term galactic superwave way before any scientist had ever used that term. Now, interestingly enough, he was gifted in so many ways. He taught his own form of Qigong, his own form of healing with energy, through basically breathing and motion, kind of like dancing in some ways, kind of like Tai Chi. And he was also somebody that was very musically inclined and knew the power of music as well. So he literally said that, it's the end of the civilization that we've known, and the end of the cycle of being under these controllers, because this light changes everything. This energy changes everything. And so when we pass through it, we'll be purified. And they will not be able to tolerate this. And so, this is the other big part of it. You really don't want to take any of the darkness into you, because it's going to anchor you, and this is their whole purpose. They want to stop the ascension process. And as long as we remain organic when this wave hits us, then we're heading on up. It's basically kind of beam me up, Scotty.
Mm-hmm. It is. And, it is going to be a difficult time. And that time has kind of already started when we look at our own lives and the things that we have to face and the things we're kind of being forced to face, due to our higher self wanting to connect. So it is painful in different ways. Emotionally, it's like removing a Band-Aid, and a Band-Aid that's been stuck for a very long time, and that can be difficult, but emotionally we are all changing. We are all finding new direction, new understanding. We can see beyond the veil that they have created. And when I say they, I mean the controllers. They've created a veil. They've created this illusion to keep us all held back. And that's what we're going to be able to see beyond. And that's how we're no longer going to be controllable. And they don't like that.
So this is what he had written. Now, he went into a trance and he basically gave this. A gradual improvement is already occurring in the thoughts, sentiments, and acts of humans, but everybody will soon be subjugated to the divine fire that will purify and prepare them in regards to the new era. Thus, man will raise himself to a superior degree of consciousness indispensable to his entrance into the new life. This is what one understands by ascension. Some decades will pass before this fire will come that will transform the world by bringing it a new moral. This immense wave comes from cosmic space and will inundate the entire earth. All those that attempt to oppose it will be carried off and transferred elsewhere. So there again, all those that attempt to oppose it will be carried off and transferred elsewhere. Although the inhabitants of this planet do not all find themselves at the same degree of evolution, the new wave will be felt by each one of us. And this transformation will not only touch the Earth, but the ensemble of the entire cosmos. So again, those that have chosen to be with the controllers will find themselves reincarnating on planets of lower vibrational frequency, similar to Earth, in the same situation, under the same control grid. And those that resist and stay organic will find themselves basically on a heaven on earth scenario that will manifest right before our eyes. There will be a period of rebuilding. There will be a period of relearning many things. But see, this is where the civilization is different in a golden age, in the silver age even. We will not do anything. We would not choose to harm the planet to make life easier for us. We'll live in harmony with the planet because we understand that we're just cells in the planet.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to want to live in harmony. We're going to want to have that balance, that symbiotic way, because that's just going to feel right. That's going to settle right within the soul. You're going to be able to feel comfortable, feel whole. You'll feel that connection. And if you're not in harmony, you're going to feel some discomfort. So it's going to be a very, very natural thing that's going to occur. And it's just, we're all going to know that we are home. We're home when we're in a symbiotic relationship with the planet.
The best and only thing that man can do right now is to turn towards God and improve himself consciously to elevate his vibratory levels so he can find himself in harmony with the powerful wave that will soon submerge him. So here's where people have a hard time because they've been so pounded into a Christian or a Muslim perspective of God being, this vengeful, judgmental father that you better do or you're going to be punished. That's not the creator. That's not source. Source is pure love. And that's not the creator of this universe either. That's the controllers. That's the draconian Anunnakian system that we're in. All these apparent power brokers from the secret societies, the Illuminati, and et cetera, et cetera. They give you a distorted perception of what lies on the other side. When we interact with the devas and the guides, there is nothing that comes across but the most purest sense of love you can imagine. There's no judgment. There's no condemnation. It's basically a gaslighting tactic that the controllers use to keep you in a state of abject fear of punishment. So, their concept of God is not the real source, and it's not the real creator of this universe. And this next line tells you your present life is slavery. It's a heavy prison because they view you as slaves. Just look to the Anunnaki stories. This is their version. It still is their version, just like the Bible and the Quran are their versions. And yet hidden in the Bible, there are some truths, there are some references, but they've been obscured and they've been just smeared over and distorted. So really, you don't need to understand anything more than always operate from a point of compassion, love, and peace.
Mm-hmm. Really, in the world that we live in, that can be such a huge challenge because we're working in these constructs that the controllers have made for us. And these constructs are for them to have policies and procedures to do things in a way that really gives them the advantage over all of us. So when we're put in a position where we have to follow policy and procedure, sometimes you run into people that are cranky and they don't like that and it doesn't feel good. And when you see one cranky person after the next, it makes you cranky. So it is very difficult to stay in that high vibrational state when we're in this construct that they've created for us. But that makes it all the more important to pull yourself back, prioritize that time to get quiet and process all of these negativities that have touched you throughout your day. And we need to do that on a daily basis. And that's how we can start growing that compassion for our fellow human, because we are all have We all have a heart. It's a huge heart, and we want to do the right thing. That's our nature. But it's like we've been put in a position where we're kind of forced going against our nature. No, it does not feel good. It does hurt. We all have a lot of healing we need to do.
So understand your situation, liberate yourself from it. I tell you this, exit from your prison. It's really sorry to see so much misleading, so much suffering, so much incapacity to understand where one's true happiness lies. Everything that is around you will soon collapse and disappear. Nothing will be left of this civilization nor its perversity. The entire earth will be shaken. No trace will be left of this erroneous culture that maintains men under the yoke of ignorance. Earthquakes are not only mechanical phenomena. Their goal is to awaken the intellect and the hearts of humans so that they liberate themselves from their errors and their follies, and that they understand that they are not the only ones in this universe. Again, thinking that the earth is all that there is, we are the center of the universe, there's just us, there's demons, there's angels, and there's God. That's not the case. Not the case at all. And it couldn't be any farther from the truth. Our solar system is now traversing a region of the cosmos where a constellation that was destroyed left its mark, its dust. This crossing of a contaminated space is a source of poisoning, not only for the inhabitants of Earth, but for all the inhabitants of other planets of our galaxy. Okay. There's a lot of other people out there, is basically what he's telling you. He's telling you there are extraterrestrials. There's interdimensionals, there's extraterrestrials. We're not alone. Only the suns are not affected by the influence of this hostile environment because they are very, very high-level beings. And again, how do you know they're a high-level being? Well, what are they doing? They're supporting countless forms of life. You are supporting billions, if not trillions, of life forms in your body alone. So you are a universe unto yourself. Yet, how much greater are they? So this shows us, this is what we are transversing towards. Each human is basically, so to speak, a star in training. And again, because what is the purpose of a star? It's to support life. So the more we're in service to others, the more we're in service to ourselves, but the more we're also in accord with the greater purpose for life in the first place, because this is all about love and choosing love. This region is called the 13th zone. One also calls it the zone of contradictions. Our planet was enclosed in this region for thousands of years, but finally we are approaching the exit of the space of darkness, and we are on point of attaining a more spiritual region where more evolved beings live. And they will walk among us. Again, they walked among us in the past. These legends of the gods, the devas. These beings are right there. They're on the other side. We're getting very, very close to them. When we interact with beings like Ganesha and Lakshmi and Aset, who is known as Isis to many, White Buffalo Calf Woman, Anandamayi Ma, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Yeshua. These beings are beings of pure love. They are just so loving and compassionate and non-judgmental, and they come from all traditions. It's not one dogma that has it right. Again, to somebody that understands the bigger picture, that whole notion would be just absolutely silly. But again, the darkness makes it so people can't see clearly, and everything is about keeping you from understanding how things truly work. And when we were talking about the 3 days of darkness, and we're talking about, there's some sort of poison or toxicity out there. Again, you look at this and he's talking about a contamination space. So there could be something to do with that as well before we head or start to head out of this contaminated zone, which we are doing. Perhaps it's, like a final barrier that we need to pass, and then everything will start to fall away. So we are going to have challenges ahead of us after we go through this cycle right now. The greatest threat to humanity is the controllers right now. Absolutely, by far. The greatest threat to humanity is the system itself. Once we get through the system, then yes, we are going to have some earth changes as well that we'll be going through. But we'll be in a point of harmony where we could just simply listen to the guidance, move from one place to another. There are beings that are going to help us, just like the ant people helped the Hopi and led them into the earth and then said, okay, now you could go back up. It's time to go back up. Mr. MBB was showing what appeared to be a planet or a moon. There was a lady and her family in Arizona that saw something in the night sky. Now that was a ship. That's what we got. That was actually a mothership, and it wasn't. It wasn't a malicious mothership. This was actually positive beings. Now, there are going to be more and more sightings of other planets, because what we've gotten is there's 39 or 40 planets in our solar system, many, many more than they tell us. And many are inhabited. Actually, the majority of them are inhabited on one density or another. There's a purpose for planets, and they're not just rocks that are sitting there purposeless. No, life exists on them, and it might not be 3D, it might not be 4D, maybe it's 5D, maybe it's 6D. Again, this is part of how the universe works, but there will be many that appear before us. When we come out on the other side, we're going to look up into the sky. It will not be what we've been used to seeing. Again, new heavens and a new earth are being created. And, that's something to look forward to, because it's going to be a thing of beauty.
It is, and with all things, we're going to all come across our own challenges. So finding that compassion for your fellow human, understanding that they're probably going through something in private that they don't want to talk about. So if somebody's cranky at you, just understand it's not about you. They're going through something that it's very difficult for them to cope with, to grasp, and just be kind. Just be kind. When in doubt, be kind. I always like to say that, and I definitely have gone through my own situations in life, and that's what I go by. When in doubt, be kind, because you just never, ever know.
So the Earth is now following an ascending movement, and everyone should force themselves to harmonize with the currents of ascension. Those who refuse to subjugate themselves to this orientation will lose the advantage of good conditions that are offered in the future to elevate themselves. So what he's talking about, too, is like those that choose to go the path of the controllers and go the nanotech AI Borg collective may have to wait tens of millions of years for the coming of a new ascending wave. This is a big, big cycle. This is a big, big period. This is a much bigger period in and of itself outside of the normal cycle that we go through. So we have these 12,000 year cataclysms. We have a bigger 25,000 year cycle. We have these smaller destructive cycles that may be several hundred years each. But there's also this massive ascension wave that's happening now that is unique, literally, and again can bring us to enable us to have that choice to, if we want to, stay in a 5D existence and no more of anything remotely dark, so to speak. Not that duality doesn't exist on the higher densities, because there's always the interaction of different energies to create motion and in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. There's always duality is just one of the basic laws. It's just what we have been shown to be duality in this place that they've kind of hijacked is different from the duality and the natural ebb and flow of life that we see in nature.
Everything is distorted. So again, this is why there is no way Cindy and I would ever choose the path that the controllers are offering. No way. Never. There's no way, because it's this whole life is just the twinkle in an eye, so to speak, of the life of the soul. So everything is being put into a new direction. And yes, we are going to have all sorts of things. He goes into revolutions, earthquakes, explosions, all sorts of things. We've we've covered this before, so I won't keep going with this. And there are other videos that we've done on this before. But basically, when we come out the other side, it is basically a heaven on earth that starts to manifest, and beings, just like Mother Shipton said, oh, silver ships appear and strange beings come out. But they help mankind to rebuild, and they help us to rebuild in a positive direction. And so everything begins yet anew. He's sharing the same story again. It's a return to a different age. So those that choose to go through that route, we will see a totally different society that we probably can't even really clearly conceive of, because of the darkness that this age has been enfolded in. But truly, it will be a heaven on earth manifesting before our very eyes.
Mm-hmm. It will, definitely one that will have been earned through many, many different people pulling together and helping one another.
So as always, guys, we want to thank you for your support over on Patreon, and we want to thank all of our supporters there, Mike and Phil, and we have a lot of people to thank, and we couldn't do it without you guys and your support. And also over on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation or a monthly donation as well, just by clicking down here, just like you could on Patreon. As always, stay prepared, keep working together. This is what we need to do to get through this period, is to work together to find those that are our family, regardless of whether you're related or not on a soul level. You might find that you have this amazing family out there that is going to support you in this time, because we are heading for better times.
Indeed. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.